Oh, that was sweet. That's all great advice. You may need it. Not so much building the snowman just yet in some of these places, but definitely the chill. Because we have those freeze watches up in the pink all the way from Virginia, the New York metro area out onto Long Island, South Jersey. That includes parts of the Philly area down to D.C. And that is because that cold, dry Arctic air mass is about ready to invade. It's still lingering off to the Midwest right now, but ready to take over cities like Chicago and Detroit. And then, yes, eventually into Pittsburgh and Albany. Today, though, not that bad, right? You're saying 53 New York? I like it. 55 in D.C. You've got 52 in Pittsburgh. This one's going to hurt, too, because by tomorrow morning, you're all the way down into the 20s, 18 in Binghamton. We're still hanging on above freezing from Boston to D.C., but we will see some of those low temperatures completely bottom out here by the time Saturday morning rolls around. By the way, these are not the low temperatures. These are your highs tomorrow. So when you start the day into the 30s, that's where you're going to stay from New York to Boston. 26 in Buffalo, Pittsburgh, your high will remain below freezing after starting off into the 20s. But look at this. This is definitely a wow map for this time of year here because we haven't seen much of this. All those areas looking at potential record lows. They have been few and far between, but now they are widespread potential here from Michigan to Maine and into New Jersey. That translates into lows that'll be into the teens and the 20s. We're talking 14 in Binghamton, 26 the low in D.C., 22 in Boston. And if I remember correctly, that would be a new record low for you. The record for the date on Saturday was set back in 1901. So pretty cool there. By Saturday, your highs warming above freezing New York and D.C., Pittsburgh too, getting up to 39 degrees. But look at the trend, Boston. You do take the dip. You hang out with highs in the 30s, but it will be dry. And by the time you get to Monday, highs back up into the mid and upper 40s with cloudy skies and your low temperatures also getting above freezing. Another distance between you and the car ahead of you, and give yourself plenty of extra time so you're not in a rush, right? Lots of opportunities to be driving in the snow and the rain across the west, including in Wyoming. We have a system offshore, and that is utilizing that big dip in the jet stream, giving it power, but also pushing a lot of that moisture off the Pacific right in there. So it's not lacking moisture, that is for sure. And we always love to show the water vapor, I do anyway, because it can really pinpoint and show you all of the features going into what the weather is going to be doing. And you see an obvious curl there, but you also see another one. So we've got some spokes on a wheel here, and so it won't be one system, it'll be a few affecting the west over the next couple of days. And you can see here the current situation, looking at showers along the coast. I almost sneezed there, I apologize. Mountain snow, and that is into not only Montana but Idaho, and eventually pushing into Yellowstone as we get in through tomorrow too. More snow there, and also more rain along the coast. So the 5 will be definitely a tricky drive between Seattle, Portland, down towards San Francisco. Here with days of rain, it will add up to several inches, and we think it's going to be days of rain because we've got another system behind it taking shape for the weekend. Looks very similar in that you've got this big dip in the jet stream, you've got the power of all that moisture pushing in from the Pacific, and as I mentioned, that rain will add up several inches through Monday. As much as 3 to 5. Wouldn't be surprised to see a few pockets that tally more than that. But also note the mountain snow. Not gangbuster snow here for the Sierra Nevada, the Cascades, but regardless, some of those higher elevations will be picking up maybe as much as 2 feet of snow. But you can see in places like Yellowstone, maybe half a foot or more in some of those spots, but also into Idaho. Spokane, it looks like you may miss out on some of that accumulating snow, but you wouldn't have to go far to see some of that. So Seattle, look at your forecasts. Really wild here. We've got rain, temperatures in the 50s, maybe some thunderstorms and wind here on Monday. Well, this weekend's Weather Gone Viral show has why you should stay off. I'm tracking the rain and the wet weather across the southeast, and it's a cool rain at that, with the 50s from Atlanta to Wilmington. And eventually we're going to see the 50s get wiped away across the northeast, including in New York and Boston today. We also have the start of our front moving through and the lake effect machine getting kicked on, and we'll see some of that as we get through the day today. But otherwise, delivering that cold Arctic air mass, waking up to teens and 20s from Chicago to Detroit, and only getting up to 32 Chicago for your high, Minneapolis at 29. And that cold air tomorrow arriving into the Northeast too, with highs just into the 30s. And it is going to mean a frigid, perhaps record-breaking Saturday morning across the Northeast, and really record lows threatened from Michigan to Maine on Saturday morning. We see some recovery there Saturday for highs in Minneapolis. Meanwhile, we've been watching the west, and you've seen a couple systems come through with more rain and snow. It'll happen again for you on Sunday. More rain than anything else. As you can see, a lot of green here from Seattle down towards San Francisco. At this point, we could be looking at a couple of inches of rainfall, with more to come here on Monday as we see our system spread inland. Meanwhile, much of the country fairly quiet, and temperatures recovering a little bit. We're back up into the 50s, New York, upper 40s for Boston and Chicago. Minneapolis, you're out of the 20s for highs and back into the 40s. Across the southeast, dry in Atlanta, temps into the 60s here. That'll continue to be the case on Tuesday. Also a return to some wet weather Tuesday through the Midwest and the Mississippi River Valley. Notice all of the green. It is going to be too warm to see much of this in the form of snow on Tuesday, and then by Wednesday we see that rain stretch all the way into the Northeast, back in through the South. That means rain for Cincinnati as well as Lexington, knocking on Nashville's door and Little Rock too, with more of the wet, unsettled weather across the West.